Does your worldview make sense? Imagine this. Over 60 people crowded into a home one evening for a 59-minute and 50-second open discussion about God, life, and the Bible. Most were skeptics and seekers. The living room was packed out. People were overflowing into the dining room and into any open doorways. I was the discussion moderator and the guy who would add some Bible input into the discussion. And I knew it would be spirited and a lot of fun. With a crowd like that, it had to be. My opening question, what would you like to talk about, was all a skeptic, a school administrator, needed. And he went on and on for more than 10 minutes, pausing only to come up for air. He gave us his worldview, a thought-out, detailed, illogical, and confused combination of philosophy and man-made spirituality. My mind was reeling as he talked. What should I say? And to which of his many ideas should I respond? And as he finished, I really thought he'd have a very satisfied look on his face. After all, he'd clearly spoken to the crowd. But strangely, he seemed more puzzled than pleased. So I asked him an unexpected question. I asked, "What do you think about what you just said?" His answer surprised us all. He laughed and said, "I've never said that out loud before. It really doesn't make any sense at all." You see, his worldview just made no sense, not even to him. So, skeptic, seeker, have you thought through your worldview? And does it really make sense? Does it make sense to you? Now, my goal in this video is to help you think through your worldview. Be prepared, because I'm going to leave you with just more questions than you started with. You see, your worldview is the combination of answers to a handful of core questions. You may have this all figured out. Maybe you do. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't know the questions or haven't even thought through your answers. But the reality is that you are living life according to your answers, even if you've never verbalized them. You really should think through your answers. The statement, "the unexamined life is not worth living," is attributed to Socrates. It essentially asserts that living according to principles and concepts that you have not examined and have not purposefully embraced as your worldview, is actually pointless. So, do you know your worldview? Have you thought through your answers? There are 6 core questions. I'll give them to you, and then I'll go back to each with just a comment or two. And as I go through these, ask yourself, what are my answers? Not my answers, your answers. What are your answers? Well, here they are, the core questions. Who or what is the highest power? Who or what am I? Who or what defines morality and truth? And what happens when I die? And what determines my answers to these questions? And there's a 6th, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes. So, back to the first question. Who or what is the highest power? Or, if you want to get academic, what is prime reality? Simply put, is the center of everything the physical world, mankind, or God? And if God, who is that God? Or am I the highest priority? A self-made man following his creator? What's your answer? Second, who or what am I? Do I have any meaning? Or am I just a sophisticated animal that somehow oozed up from the primordial slime, a no-self-will product of my DNA? Or am I a meaningful creation of a personal God? Does life matter? Does my life matter? Am I meaningful or am I meaningless? What's your answer? And third, who or what defines morality? Who or what determines morality, truth, and right and wrong? Are these just a DNA predetermined survival of the fittest, driving me to win the fight for resources and to maximize my number of offspring to perpetuate the species? Or is right and wrong determined by me, or by my small circle of peers, or by some larger segment of society? And can such man-determined moralities contradict one another and still be true? Or are morality, truth, and right and wrong defined by the character and revelation of God? What's your answer? And what happens when I die? Am I more than roadkill on the road of life? Is there life beyond the grave? Am I terminal, or does life go on? And how does this impact my perception of time, of my time, and my purpose? And just to offer some fun perspective, if I'm going to live forever, as a personal being, as myself, can I have a midlife crisis? And when could that happen? What's your answer? And a really big question: what determines my answers to these questions? What is my basis of authority? Do I have the knowledge and wisdom to create my own answers? In a sense, create my own self-made religion? Or do I trust myself, my small peer group, or society to be my basis of authority? Or has a personal God communicated these things to us? What's your answer? And one final question, the sixth one that I said was on the list. Skeptic, seeker, stick with me. This will make you think, it really will. What do you, or will you, do with Jesus and the Bible? That's the question. What do you, or will you, do with Jesus and the Bible? Now you see, if the Bible is true, then this final question is extremely important. You see, the Bible states that all of us have been communicated to by the one God, the God of the Bible. The Bible states that each of us has been given an internal revelation, an inner knowledge of an unnamed God. We know some God exists, and it states that the world around us tells us that this unnamed God has eternal power and divine nature. And the Bible states that this God has revealed himself to us. It states that the Bible itself is God's spoken word to us. It states that it is God-breathed. You see, it's a book from God, and not just a book about God. And in the New Testament, the books of John and Hebrews, chapter 1 of each, they tell us that God has spoken to us in Jesus, who is the Logos. That's the living word, the one who became flesh and lived among us. Therefore, what do you, or will you, do with Jesus and the Bible? It's a critical part of your worldview. What's your answer? Skeptic, seeker, I challenge you to think these things through. Does your worldview, your answers to those questions, really make sense to you? Or are you like that school administrator that I mentioned earlier? And what is the basis of authority for your answers to those core questions? Are you really satisfied with your worldview? You really should think this through. And believer, I haven't forgotten you. Does your worldview and your life match a truly Christian worldview? For all of us, does our worldview make sense even to us? A script of this video is in the justaquestion.org library of documents. You'll see all the questions there, just as I said. It's a script of this video. I'm John Morris, and this is Just a Question.